back to the program. It's still Morning Delight here on Lagos Television Talk Time, the last segment of the show. And on this segment today, we're taking a look at Easter lessons for a prosperous Nigeria. I don't know how much more we need to learn from the life of the man we'll be celebrating from today till Monday for us to understand the facts that indeed Nigeria deserves to be a better place to live in. And of course, it is not the responsibility of the government alone. Even the led has a responsibility at ensuring that this country is prosperous. Hopefully, our guests today will be able to remind us of some things that we know and of course, imbibe new things in us as individuals, which can help us all ensure that Nigeria is a better place to live in. Join us this morning as we welcome Bishop Dr. Theophilus Ajose, is the State Director, Politics and Governance, Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
And we also have Dr. Bolaji Akim, is the convener, Apostolic Roundtable, and of course, you know that part of him as a public affairs analyst on this program. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start this way. We do know that today is, many people call today the Holy Friday, the day that Christ was killed. Let's take a look at the significance of this day, to what exactly is going on in Nigeria as we speak. Let's start from you, Dr. Ajose.
Thank you. Today we are celebrating the crucifixion of Christ, which is beyond just the crucifixion, but the sacrifice of God himself for humanity. And when we look at that, it means God, the righteous one in Christ Jesus, has sacrificed himself for us, for a sinful nation. So, which means Jesus Christ, as before time, and he came to the world to sacrifice himself to show that he can redeem us no matter how worse or how bad we are. And so, for a nation, it means we must be ready to, in quote, sacrifice ourselves for whatever we can to redeem ourselves, reconcile ourselves to ourselves, and also that there will be peace on the earth. You know, the Word of God makes us to understand that Jesus Christ actually came to bring peace to us. You know, the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. So when we remember that Jesus Christ, who died for us, you know, without sin, you know, carry all our burden upon himself, then we as a nation, as a people, must be ready to look out for one another, to help one another. But we have seen a nation in which when one of us is down, we knock him down the more, we kick him down the more, without actually trying to find out that if we are in his position, can we do better? If we face what he has faced, are we able to stand? You know, so especially in the body of Christ, we are the ones that kill our wounded soldiers. You know, so when one is bad, then we castigate, we kill, without trying to restore him. So when Jesus Christ was about to leave, you know, he expressed love among his disciples. Then when he resurrected, he appeared to Peter and he told him that when, you know, that you should strengthen your brethren, you know, strengthen them in their weakness. You know, because he himself had denied Jesus Christ many times, and God restored him. So when thou art converted, strengthen your, you know. So the message of Jesus Christ for us this day is that we should learn to strengthen ourselves. I know there is something, so everybody is facing battles, everybody is facing challenges. You don't know why somebody is doing what he's doing. You can never know because you are never in his shoes. Right. And so the only thing is to reach out in love, because love conquers all things. And when you reach out in love, it may be easier for you to understand, or the person open up to you. Then we cannot. But this is a noisy generation. Blah, 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 everybody, blah, blah. You know, we don't even want to give ourselves any breathing space to even know to the limits to which somebody can go or withstand temptation. So I believe in this instant, Jesus Christ is telling us, I died for you. I sacrificed myself for you. Do so for one another.
Okay. Has it ever occurred to you that there seems to be this repetition and this vicious circle, and there seems not to be any movement? I don't want to talk about the body of Christ now, because that's a different conversation altogether. But let's talk about Nigeria, because even all our leaders, or political leaders, or those aspiring, will always issue a statement, Good Friday, that look, in fact, all governments all around the world, including Nigeria, recognize this today. That's why we have a public holiday in the first place. And tell you, imbibe what Jesus Christ has decided to do. Show love, because he loved the world so much that he gave. And they say, please, Christians, Nigerians should buy the sacrifice. And we've had that. I've had that since because I became a journalist even. But has that really translated to what we see, the realities on ground?
Absolutely not. Well, basically, we need to understand that there is the dynamics of the person of Jesus, his introduction, and so much lesson for us as individuals. So much lesson for us as a nation. For unto us a child is born, and a son is given. A child is not same as a son. There is a growth process. There is a maturing process. And the reason why we're where we are as individuals, as a nation, is the failure to grow from the potential that God gave to us and the development we need to make out of those potential. And it's interesting that what follows immediately, for unto us a son, a child is born, a son is given, the government shall be upon his shoulder. Now, we need to understand government from 3 points of view: self-government, family government, and of course, public government. What we relate to most of the time is public government. We fail to appreciate the need for self-government and then family government. And while we were, before we come on set, you were talking about your family and the government at home and the demand that was in place on you as the government over that house. Now, it's interesting that we cannot we cannot make success of the public government if we have persons who have not discovered their place in self-leadership. If you cannot lead yourself successfully, you can't lead your family successfully. And then you can't transit from family leadership to public leadership. Now, the lesson here for us is we have someone who matured, someone who grew, someone who became the purpose for which he was sent. We also now, as individuals, need to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of my life? What is the purpose of my citizenship? What are the expectations? And then begin to govern yourself to meet the expectation of the larger society.
I mean, let's take a cue from him, Dr. Ajose, would be the fact that over time, just like Joshua said, it is becoming a reoccurring situation where every Easter we sit here and we talk about the love for Nigeria, and immediately Easter period is over, we probably need to wait again until December when we're celebrating the birth of Jesus before we start talking about sacrifices, love, and things like that. So it seemed like we only remember when, of course, there's something like this to celebrate, and immediately it is over. We all retrace our steps, go back into the cocoon, and turn our blind eyes to situations. So as it is, what are some of those things as individuals, especially starting from the individual homes? How do we begin to put our steps right to ensure that indeed the nation is a better place for us all to live in, taking a cue from the life of Christ?
Oh, thank you so much. You have wrapped it all up in one piece, and that is love. You know, one of the challenges we have when we talk about love all the time is that a lot of people don't understand the concept of love. You cannot give what you don't have.
True.
So a lot of people, at times when I minister to pastors, and one of the questions I ask them is, why do you hate yourself? A lot of them, a lot of people, they don't even love themselves. So you can't even expect them to display love to other people. You can't give what you don't have. But there is this misconception about love. You know, when Jesus Christ appeared to John, and he asked him a question, he said, to appear to Peter. He asked him a question, he said, Peter, do you love me more than this? He said, Lord, you know I love you. He asked him the second time, do you love me more than this? He said, Lord, you know I love you. And Jesus asked him the third time, and Peter was angry. Why do you ask me? You know I love you. For those of us reading the Bible in the English, it looks as if they are saying the same thing, but they are at different levels.
Right.
So Jesus, in the Greek, there are two words for love, phileo and agapao. And also, Jesus Christ told Peter, 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 do you agapao me more than this? Peter said, Lord, you know I phileo you. And he asked him again, do you agapao me more than this? He said, you know I phileo you. You see, phileo is the love you give to people based on what you can get from them, based on whether you like them or they do things you like. But the agapao is unconditional. It's not about me. You understand? So you will now see that men are literally, they cannot display the agapao love of God if God does not inspire them, or they have not surrendered to the lordship of God. So a lot of us have not surrendered to the lordship of God to display the love of God. So I see you belong to this party, I don't like you. You vote for this person, I don't like you, and all that. But if you are talking to me based on the fact that we have common relationship in a political party or in government, then I love you. So that is the filial love. It starts from home. When you see father and mother dividing the children among themselves, this one love the mother, this one love the, So the children, they grow to now know that this is when daddy buys something for me, I hug him, then mommy takes me to school, So if we cannot, as a nation, disciple ourselves in the unconditional love of God, that we can display to people, because Bible says God is the one at work in us, both to do to will for his own good pleasure. And so if you are doing something that to me is wrong, we know in part, I may not say I cannot be an authority to determine that, because God may be using you to do something for the future that I may not see now, even though now it may look wrong. So if I reach out to you, maybe I can have an insight. So what I'm saying in essence is that we can go on every Easter, every December, displaying the love of God and talking about it, but until it becomes a way of life to us, so that it won't be, David said, he said in Psalm 115, he said, not unto us, but unto your own name give glory. So when we know that everything we do has to be for the glory of God, then we won't have to be, I don't like you, I hate you, or this. So I can tell you now that it is personal discipline, personal development that is lacking.
You talked about moving from one stage to the other. So where should we move to now? And it sounds simple. It's like a simple question. But I'm looking at the tedious process for you to get anything done in this part of the world. A situation where you just have to make sure, if you can't align by ethnicity, you can't align by tribe or religion. It's a difficult movement to have or to be. So how does a nation with that diverse and multi different approach to things move or grow, using your word now?
Well, basically, we really have to understand that the ministry of Jesus was reconciliation. He came to reconcile man back to God. Yeah. And if he has given us the same ministry of reconciliation to reconcile men back to men and men back to God. So basically, the starting point is first of all, is for us to begin bringing each other together. Political season was quite unusual in 2023, quite unusual. And some of us were in the forefront of it, And those of us who are responsible in one way or the other should know that the season is over, and begin to build back, to build bridges. Because one thing about Nigeria now we must understand, or about politicians that we must understand, is the fact that politicians, once 2023 is over, what's on their mind is 2027.
Right.
And you can't expect somebody who already have 2027 at the back of his mind to build this nation. Politics to them is a career. Politics is a business. And once you talk about business, profiting is, the other word for business, And they will think in terms of what they stand to gain, taking certain decisions. But Nigeria belongs to us, me and you, as citizens. And so the initiative to build this nation must come from us. And the only way we can do that, like, Bishop Ajose said, is for us to understand Jesus' concept of love and to apply it. That does not mean that we are perfect, but in the process of, working at it, we will get at it once we are sincere. Once we remove the concept of sensual love, and we can bring in God's kind of love, which is sacrificial, which is unconditional. When the Yoruba can accommodate the Igbo unconditionally, when the Igbos can relate with the Yorubas unconditionally, when the Muslim can embrace, the Christian unconditionally. Now, these are the things we should be seeing, doing now, and growing at it to build a nation for each and every one of us moving towards 27. It is then that politicians will not be able to come between us and divide us again.
The role of the church. Let's look at the role of the church at ensuring that, of course, the land is prosperous, not necessarily dwelling on prosperity. Because we do know that when the land is prosperous, it's different from preaching prosperity. So how does the church come in here at ensuring that the people hear the right things so that it will be about the country, about the land, and not about individuals?
Thank you so much. As a leader in the church, one of the things we have seen over time is church leaders preaching themselves instead of preaching Christ. When the gospel is about Jesus Christ, not about anybody. And it's God that prospers people. I tell them, I say, the gospel of Jesus Christ is a complete package. So once you accept it, prosperity is not just an addition, it's part of it. Healing is part of it, everything. So God is not asking you to choose, say just take. But because we preach ourselves, I bought this shoe in America, I bought this aircraft, if you just touch my dress now, things will happen. So we have made ourselves the focus of worship. I think Job said in Job 36:11, he said, if they obey and serve him, they will spend their days in prosperity and their years in pleasure. It's about the service of God. And also we are actually impoverishing the people instead of making them rich. And also the church is not setting the stand. I tell people, I say, whatever you see in the nation is a reflection of the church. I'm telling you. So the righteousness can only start from the church before it's sent to the nation. So the church pastor, the leaders and whatever has to change the preaching narrative to preach the person and personality of Jesus Christ. Okay. And that is when people, we imbibe it, because the Christ in their hearts, if they have not received in their hearts, they cannot display it to anybody. And also I believe that the church has an onerous responsibility. For example, now you come to the church and a big man comes, there's a seat already reserved for him, and all that. And those who are even serving for years cannot even be on your altar to even hold microphone and all that. But somebody, you don't know whether he's coming from an altar of the devil or whatever, he just dresses where he has position, comes to your church, and you give him table to sit on the altar. So that is the extent. So everybody now wants to be rich, so that a great man of God told me that I've been serving one of these great men of God in Nigeria, and he has never even had the opportunity of sitting close to the man of God. And also, he had the opportunity of a poetry for a politician. I said, come and meet my father in the Lord. And he got to a day that he was the one doing the ushering. He's a great man of God in this country. So he was doing the ushering, at that level. And this politician just came, and he was ushered to the altar, and he had to start with the, head pastor of that church. And he was saying, I've never had this opportunity
to do this.
And this man that I know is even Okoti, we are trying to convert him, and all that. So that's one of the things you will see. Okay. So I believe that if the church of God, the minister of the gospel, can, preaching policy on the altar has polluted the altar of God.
Okay, this is my final question to you. Because as we wrap up, we don't really have time like that. The life of Jesus Christ, even as we went to Golgotha, is a life of sacrifice. And it also, so many things we can actually extrapolate from the journey to that place, the cross, beating, people had to help him, discipleship, sacrifice, agony, and having to do that, even converting right there on the cross. So the journey of Nigeria is pretty painful as it is. Are we expected to have more pains till we get to the promised land, or is there a point where we understand that even while we sacrifice now, there's something better in future?
Well, you are making it look as if our problem is spiritual, and our problem is not spiritual.
But we start everything we see in the physical as a function.
Our problem is self-made. Our problem is self-made. Our nation is not different from every other nation in the world. And the peculiarity of our nature as individual is imparting on the way we go about things. And when she was making the presentation earlier, she said, away from the prosperity of individual, how do we make the land to prosper? Because when the land is prosperous, it will take care of the need of everybody. And you see, some of the things that have hated the gospel we preach in Nigeria is actually the impact of poverty in our land. And you can see same even reflecting in the attitude and decision of government. If you have to go borrow money to share as palliative for whatever, it shows our thinking. We want to take care of our problem in the immediate, and that's the problem. There is no such quick fix it. Life is a process, and we have to get at it and work it out. Jesus on the way, on the journey to Golgotha, like you said, one of the statements on the way is, Father, forgive them, for they know not what. Now, when Bishop was talking about forgiveness earlier, he said, you can never be in a position to know why I am doing what I'm doing. Same for him. So that benefit of that deep understanding is what made Jesus able to forgive them, because he wasn't really interested in why they were doing what they were doing, because there's no one you ask to explain himself who will not give an explanation. Okay. So what you just need to do is learn to forgive and, build from there and move on.
All right, would leave this conversation here today. We just hope that the few that we've heard today would all make a commitment and be committed to the Project Nigeria and move away from self-development. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program today.
Thank you.
Well, it's a fantastic day to be alive, to understand what is happening, and for us to reevaluate how we want to move forward as a people, as a nation, even as Christians. Pastor, do the right thing. When you see something, you say the right thing and you do the right thing. I am Joshua Muraklio. Have a wonderful holiday.
It's one thing for the men of God to preach. It's another thing for us also hear the things they've said and then make up our minds to live the right way. Thank you so much for watching the Morning Delight today and all week long. Monday morning will be another time to be here, though it will be another holiday, but trust us, we'll be here to help you celebrate your Easter Monday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I am Abimbola Bello. Good morning.